Mhm. Hi, everyone. Welcome to SBR Sports Picks. His name is Jimmy the Bag. My name is Peter Loshak. This is the Loshak the Bag Show for the for Monday, January 15th, 6 o'clock version. Of course, we do this twice a day, 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock every day. Today is, of course, Martin Luther King Day, so it's a little bit of a weird schedule. Most of the NBA stuff was in the afternoon, a lot of college stuff, so not a whole lot to break down and give as far as picks are concerned for the evening show. So this will be a little bit more relaxed. Jimmy the Bag, I'm telling you, when you do your research on these like small college basketball games, more often than not, much more often than not, you find nice edges. Of course, you're not going to hit everything, but a great breakdown. New Hampshire, you had a winner today, starting things off well in college basketball. Jimmy the Bag.
Yeah, it was nice. I needed it. I think they're going to be. We're going to be capable of finding these games right now where one team is going down and one team is going up. And I saw that with the UIC line, which I didn't understand. But UIC, sort of like New Hampshire, is a team that's getting things together and playing better basketball. Unfortunately, they're not up against such a weak opponent as New Hampshire was. What a bunch of bums.
Yeah, well, very, very nicely done. And it looks like Providence, I mean, they're winning by 7 right now with 8 minutes to go. So I don't know what was up with that line movement, but I'm glad I had the balls to give it. Right, Jimmy the Bag? Look at that. The line moved against me, and I gave it anyway. Although if I had waited a couple of minutes, I could have gotten plus 124 instead of plus 108. It's definitely not in the bag yet, but it's certainly looking good. In the NBA, let's see. We cashed with the Milwaukee-Washington under, cashed with the Spurs-Atlanta under, did not cash with the Charlotte-Detroit game. I had the unders, and Jimmy the Bag had Detroit. What happened there? And then the Chicago game, I actually bet Chicago. I thought Chicago was going to be a good bet, and I didn't mention it. I also wanted to give the over on that. God, my leans are just... And Atlanta wins outright against the Spurs.
Outright.
It's unbelievable. I know that, like, you know, that jinxes are not real. Well, I think jinxes are not real, but it's just unbelievable. It's like anytime I have a lean on something, if I give it, it loses. If I don't give it, it wins. It's unbelievable, Jimmy the Bag. You've seen this, Jim.
I have. I think you should keep going with your leans.
Yeah.
They're very strong. I've started my basketball day poorly, but Memphis is up 7. I really think this is a nice spot. I do not think the Lakers are good without Lonzo or without Brook. Even though they have a ton of players in double figures and stuff like that, they actually don't have a lot of depth. And I think we're getting value on home teams. I think in college, I need to focus more on home teams. It's clear that, you know, if Providence went into Butler, it'd be a different story. And there's a bigger difference in college than there is in NBA. And
Sure. Well, I mean, it's the spot. I mean, you're in general, your analysis and breakdowns of the matchups in college basketball have really impressed me, Jimmy the Bag. There have been a few times when your analysis has gone against what my numbers have said, and your analysis is right more often than not. Today was a perfect example of it, Jimmy the Bag, and very, very, very nicely done. All right, so let's just get to some quick comments, and then we'll get to some picks here. Let's see. Yeah, I was thinking Chicago. Yeah, there you go. Providence is winning. I was thinking that Chicago was going to be a good let's see, comments here was going to be a good play. Let me look for comments here. Looking for comments here. Blake Kersey says, got to toot my own horn. All my NBA picks from the early games cash 6-0. Very nicely done, Blake Kersey. That's why we love having him in the chat box, right? To give his opinions and his analysis, as well as many other guys. Very, very important. Daniel Klein says, hey, say my name. Okay, Daniel Klein. There we go. Just said it. There you go, Daniel Klein. Native Queen says, time to get paid. That's a winning attitude right there.
That
you know
is
what I'm saying, Jim? Time to get paid. All right, so let's get into it. Let's look. Blake Kersey says, nice being off day. I was able to research and take advantage of early lines. Antoine Seymour says, Lakers win today without Ball. It's an underdog day. They are losing, aren't they, right now?
And they will lose. Ball, you know, we took so many shots at him, but when I saw this Lakers team without him in the lineup, there's just a difference. You know, he can rebound, he can pass, he defends better. I mean, I took so much heat for saying that he was defending okay. Yeah, I get it, man. I just feel uncomfortable. It's been a really rough month. A month that started with a quick $2,200 day on the 2nd of January, and then I've just been Russell Beiswanger wants me to take a sip of Jameson to relax, and, you know, fuck, maybe I should.
All right, well, let me see. And in the meantime, and in NHL, you know, I had bought, and again, Jimmy, I had Boston. I gave the LA. They're going to lose, but my lean was Colorado, and I didn't give it, and they of course won.
Colorado is playing very well, and the markets haven't quite caught up to how good they're playing.
Unbelievable. I'm just annoyed with myself that I know I'm whining. I know I'm whining and bitching and complaining. I know that doesn't make for great video content. I know that, people. All right, just let me whine for a little bit more. It's just I've been so snake bit for a while with my leans versus my picks. You know what I mean? Like I liked Chicago, didn't give that one, they win. I liked Atlanta, didn't give that one, they win. I guess I did also kind of like Detroit. I didn't give that one, and they didn't win. But I gave the Nets, like that one. They lost first half and full game. I like the over in the Lakers Memphis game. That one is looking like it's going to cash. So the answer is what are we looking at tonight that my leans are? And I don't really have any leans on the evening games either, but I do have some in college basketball, so I'll give those. I guess we're going to start out with college basketball. Okay, Jim?
Yeah, I'm ready to rock.
All right. So once again, the 6:30 game, Maryland and Michigan. I already gave that one out as an official pick on the over, 135.5. So that's up to 137.5. That's pretty nice there. And Michigan is taking some money, headed up. It's now from 7 to 8. Some people in the morning show were saying that they like Michigan here, that Maryland still has injuries. What do you think about that, Jim? I was thinking this might be a bounce back spot for Maryland, but
I initially thought it was a bounce back spot for Maryland, but they just had the flu go through the team. So Center Michael Tchaikovsky is feeling better. Bruno Fernando missed the whole second half. It's one of those situations where I just wish Michigan didn't come off beating Michigan State, because I feel like Maryland probably has a bounce back. They're probably feeling healthier. Michigan probably has a tough time early, but if Maryland is still going through the flu, Michigan will cover the 8 points late. But because I think there will be a drop off after winning in East Lansing, I just have decided to stay off of this game. I wish I could be on it. I look forward to watching this point guard matchup, though. Anthony Cowan versus Muhammad Ali Abdur Rahman. Rahman is second nationally in assist to turnover ratio. They're both great distributors. Michigan has the best turnover ratio in the Big East, and Maryland has the worst. It's just that game against East Lansing that makes me want to stay off of it.
You mind if I hit back at a hater who came in, who just played himself with his comment? Here for the fade. Thinks he's kind of slick. He wrote a comment, says, "Why don't you guys get real jobs? You're terrible at picking games. 80% of the people are here to fade, and we've been cashing." Well, here for the fade, you played yourself. You're not smart enough to be slamming people with comments like that. As we all know, if you can reliably pick losing picks, then that is just as valuable as reliably picking winning picks. So if 80% of the people are here to fade and they've been cashing, that is why we don't get real jobs, and that's what justifies our presence on video. The opposite of being a good handicapper is not being a bad handicapper. The opposite of being a good handicapper is being a coin flipper. Here for the fade. You played yourself, son. You just justified why if 80% of the people here are looking to fade and they've been cashing, that is why we don't get real jobs, and that is why this video continues to be popular. So here for the fade, go back to the drawing board, figure out how betting works, and come back with a better disc next time. Okay, pal? You know what I'm saying?
I like it.
Telling someone that they pick 44% and they should get a real job is not an insult that makes sense. Telling someone they're a coin flipper and they should get a real job is what makes sense. I'm helping you out here for the fade. I'm helping you how to be less of a moron going forward. All right, so.
Predictions guy has a nice comment. Says, a long-time viewer, but this is my first ever comment. You guys rock. I've tried to grow a mustache. That's awesome, but it just looked like a rodent raped my face and died somewhere over my upper lip.
Yes.
But he tried. He tried, and I respect that.
Absolutely. Wait, let me read that one. Wait, I didn't even see. Where is that? Oh, here we go. Yes, I tried to grow a mustache. That awesome, but it looked like a rodent raped my face and died somewhere over my upper lip, as opposed to looking like. I won't repeat that horrible comment. All right. So let's get to. All right. So once again, I gave Maryland, Michigan over 135.5, which if our fade friend is going to fade, he can now take the under at 137.5. So come into the chat box and tell us which picks of ours you're actually fading, because as we also know, saying that you faded someone after the game is over is just as stupid and full of shit as saying you made a pick that was a winner after the game was over. So you have to make your fade picks or your tailing picks before you have to indicate them before the game starts. Otherwise, it's just as much bullshit as doing it the opposite way.
I hear you. I did follow your lead, and I jumped on the under on the Duke Miami game. I studied it, and I like where you were thinking. When I sent it, I got 154.5. I'm not sure. I couldn't remember what you got on the morning
155, I believe it was. 155. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Philip Age says my boy Pistol is in full petty mode. LOL. I love it. You damn Skippy. That's right. I am getting petty. I'm responding to anonymous haters making comments that I could easily just ignore, but no, I'm responding to them and hitting back. All right, so Eric Hamburg with another great comment. All right, I'm not going to read it. All right, so anyway, the point is that I did take Michigan on the over 135.5. If you want to fade it. If you want to tail, tail. It's now up to 137 and or 137.5. And I was thinking that Maryland might actually come to play. Did you look into this, Jim? I know they still have some injuries, but
it was the flu that worried me the most. It was just the flu. I think this is a bounce back spot and a letdown spot for Michigan, but I can't pull the trigger with a team coming off the flu. Tchaikovsky's actually okay, but it hit Fernando hard, and he's the most important player really on this thing. Anthony Cowan Jr. is a great.
And there was one guy with a concussion. Is he back? Did you check that?
Dion Wiley's still out with a concussion, as far as I know. There's no. Let me just check. I got it right here. But yeah, as far as I know, he's not available this evening.
I'm telling you, man, this is a lean for me. Maryland +8. You can't pull the trigger. Why?
Because of the flu.
That's it? But they're over it now. It's 3 days ago. It's 4 days ago.
I don't trust that sort of thing because when one guy's over it might mean another guy's on it. I agree with you. And maybe it's a little thing I shouldn't trust, but I'm off of it.
All right, I'm thinking about this. I might add this one as an official play before this.
JP says Wiley is out officially.
Wiley is out. All right, yeah. All right, I'm gonna hold off, but I'm leaning. I'm on the over on that one, and I'm definitely leading Maryland +8. Let me just see what the first half lines.
Fizzy Low likes it. Let's fire it up, boys. Let's go Maryland.
Let me see. The first half total is 64.5. I was going to give 64, but I will hold off on that one as well. But definitely leaning over on that one as well. All right, now let's move on to the 7 o'clock games. I already gave officially Duke and Miami, Florida under 155. I'm also leaning under Bucknell and Colgate. I bet that one at 158. It's now down to a 156. And of course, I gave the under Minnesota Penn State at 147.5. That's gone down about a point, but not a precipitous drop. You want to add any picks for the 7 o'clock games, Jimmy the Bag?
Yeah, as I said, I did look into the Duke-Miami game, and I think I like the under. I sent it in already, so I'd like to see what number I can get. I got -154.5 with my local. So, But yeah, Duke came back from their 11-point loss to NC State by beating Pitt 87-52, Wake Forest 89-71. Miami's lost 3 times in their last 6 games. They've lost to New Mexico State, Georgia Tech, and on Saturday lost by 9 at Clemson. The Hurricanes went 50% from the foul line against Clemson. They're shooting 63% there on the season. It's a very bad spot for them, so look for them to struggle in the last 4 or 5 minutes. Coach K missed a Wake Forest game with the flu. The Blue Devils have 5 players double digits, led by Bagley's 22.5 points, 11.7 rebounds. I think that DeJuan Hewell will be tasked with the job of slowing him down at 6'11", 220. He can do that. Miami's 5th in the nation, allowing just 60.7 points a game. Everything about this game screams Miami has to defend like crazy and miss foul shots down the stretch, and I'm on the under.
Okay. I'm sorry. Which game were you talking about there?
Duke and Miami.
The Duke game, yeah. All right, so let's give you, of course, another reason why we don't get real jobs is because we are honest in videos, which is not an easy thing to find nowadays. So we're going to have to give you, I got 155. We'll be able to give you 154.5 from Bet365. Okay, Jim?
Beautiful.
All right, Jim's going to get, we do use Bet65, 365 lines here, under 154.5 -110. Everywhere else has about 154, but we will give you the bet on the Bet 365 line 154.5. All right, what else do you want to give, Jim, if anything?
I do. I'm going to double up fading Minnesota. It just felt so easy. It is sad what's happened to Minnesota. The replacements for Reggie Lynch and Amir Coffey are just extremely weak. Jordan Murphy was averaging over 12 boards a game with them in the lineup. Without him, he gets boxed out so easily. He's the only one people are worrying about, on the glass. He has 6 rebounds over his last 2 games. Lamar Stevens and Mike Watkins will just completely take advantage of that. They'll control everything. Josh Reeves has missed the last 2 games and is questionable to be back tonight. If he's not around, it'll just leave more for Tony Carr to do. Tony Carr's capable of doing it. I'm going to take Penn State on the first half and the full game.
Okay. Here for the fade, coming in again. He says, Jimmy, we all know you don't have a local LOL. You lie about everything, Jim?
It's just Chris
You
Barr,
lie about
man.
everything?
We don't need.
I lie about some things, but you lie about everything?
It's just,
Everything, Jim? Come on.
It's just Chris, man. He's just a sad man.
All right. So let's see. So you're going to take. Let me just find the lines here. What was that? Oh, so you're going to take Minnesota. I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm taking Penn State on
Okay.
the first half and the full game.
Penn State first half and Penn State full game. Let's see. Penn State first half. Let me find that one. Hold on 1 second. Best line. All right. Penn State first half -4.5. Oh, not -4 at Bet365. Is that okay, Jim?
Yes, -4.
-115. -4, -115. And now let's go to the full game. Penn State -8. -114 is the best line right now. Full at Pinnacle, -8, -114. So, Jim, you're going to get first half -4, -115, and full game -8, -114. All right, Jimmy the Bag. And I'm on the under in that game. How do you feel about the under? You think that's a pretty decent play or not really?
I do, because I think Minnesota can just get shut down. I mean, every time they miss a bucket, they're not going to be able to get the board. They're just in a really tough spot. And I just think that we have to take advantage of it until the market comes to grips with how bad this team is. They just did not have replacements for Lynch and Coffey, and they're in trouble. And I'm going to take advantage of it until the market changes. I mean, Penn State is not a great basketball team, but Watkins and Stevens are mature students. They're older guys. They can take advantage of this discrepancy. They can take advantage, and I like it.
Bookie Lover Q says, Pete, Michigan defense is real. Tread lightly. Yeah, they're good defensively for sure, right, Jim?
They are.
Yeah.
They
So
are.
it's a low total. It's a modest total. Again, I got 135.5, but good point, Bookie Lover Q. Yes, Michigan defense is real. That's why the total is so low. And hoping that one way or another the line goes up. All right, let's. The total gets over. All right, let me find some other comments here that might. Luke, let's see. Okay, so Jim's on Penn State first half and the full game -8, and I will give the Bucknell Colgate game under. I'm not going to go on the first half. I'm just going to take the full game. I got it at 158, and there's now 156.5. So I will add that one on as an official pick. Colgate under 156.5 -110. Bucknell Colgate under 156.5 -110. That's the current line at the Greek and U-Wager. And other games from the 7 o'clock slate. Boston College and Florida State, a very interesting game. Obviously, Boston College, a very impressive team, but not a whole lot of depth there. Florida State likes to play an up-tempo game. Could see this one going either way. Definitely not going to touch either side of the total. Do you have anything to say about this game, Jimmy the Bag?
I am. Florida State just went through a tough double overtime game versus Syracuse. Kumaji's showing he's for real. It's his third game back, 23 points, 8 boards, 4 blocks in that win over Syracuse. I like Florida State coming out and playing well. I'm concerned about them getting tired in the second half. But since Boston College lost Deontay Hawkins, they've had a tough time versus any quality inside play. Florida State's athleticism and toughness will be tough for Boston College to deal with. Kai Bowman will have a difficult time with either Trent Forrest, Brandon Gola, or Terrence Mann forcing the issue on him. I really think that Florida State is a good play. I'm just concerned about the difficulty coming back from the Syracuse game. So I'm going to take Florida State on the first half.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, let me find that one. Florida State. See, my thought is that, I don't know. I mean, my thought is that if Florida State has an edge, it's when they tire out BC. But I'm not touching this game at all. But I'm just looking at this game and just thinking out loud here, Jimmy the Bag, which is another reason why people like this show, because, we just do analysis, which is helpful. And it's also a community, right? What's that word? We curate a community of, obviously the people in the chat box on average know more than we do about this shit. All right, let's see. So you're going to take a Florida State minus on the first half, -1.5, -120. That'll be the best line at Bet Online. Sportsbetting.ag, -1.5, -120. Florida State, first half, -1.5, -120. Interesting stuff there, Jimmy the Bag. All right, so let's see. What else am I liking from the 7 o'clock games? Gave the under in Miami Duke.
A lot of guys are on Florida State with me. That makes me feel good. Makes me feel very good. I'm a little concerned of them getting tired. Max says Boston College ain't no joke at home. They've been very good at home.
Yeah.
I just think they're going to have a very difficult time. So Florida State is a very good defending team. They've got a lot of length on the 1, 2, and 3 spots, and then they have a 7'4" center. We've seen what happened ever since Deontay Hawkins got injured. The Boston College just does have very difficult times. When they beat Duke, Duke doesn't have a strong inside game. Obviously, they have maybe the best young player in the nation in Bagley, but I think this is a good spot for Florida State, but I'm only comfortable taking them on the first half.
Okay, and right now Providence is up by 9 with 30 seconds to go, so that means that Here for the Fade is about to take a big loser with Butler, because I gave Providence early on in the day, and Here for the Fade took Butler. So I feel bad. I don't know what to say. I feel bad when people lose money. Here for the Fade, I know he fades my plays. He's about to take a big loss with Butler, and I don't know. I'm sorry. Get him next time. Get him next time, Spike. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what to tell you.
Bookie Lover Q says, I thought Terrence Mann was out. He's now listed as probable. I expect him to go. I expect them to be good to go, but obviously we're dealing with no guarantees, but I expect them to be good to go.
Another game I was thinking about was Mercer minus double digits over Chattanooga. Chattanooga, of course, has been horrible. Mercer coming off a big double-digit win. I got a similar casher with a game like this recently with what was it? St. Bonaventure over Fordham, even though that only cashed by 1. This has that kind of a feel to it. Chattanooga looks like when they get down, they're just going to probably get blown out once again here. What do you think about that one, Jimmy the Bag? It's a little bit of a high line, but maybe not too high to take it. What do you think, Jim?
I didn't get a chance to hammer it. I didn't get a chance. I had to pick my spots today, even though there was a smaller card. But I know guys like it. Max Smart says Mercer.
Yeah.
I can see it being a play. And
well, I bet it. So I will take it. It's a 14 market wide, but the Greek has 13.5. So we're going to take Mercer minus 13.5, minus 110. I'm going to throw that one on there as an official pick as well, Jimmy the Bag.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. Chattanooga's just a terrible team.
Yeah.
Mercer at home, I get it.
And it's partially predicated on, if Chattanooga does start to get down, if they're down by like 8 or 10 or something like that, they might just throw in the towel and Mercer gets a relatively comfortable cover there. So it's not just, if Chattanooga was fully motivated the whole game, but a road game like this in January with how they've been doing recently, that's the kind of team where they might be like, listen, we're just gonna give 100% in our home games. Road game like this, if we're starting to get blown out, forget it. And so I'm going to take Mercer minus 13.5, minus 110 as an official pick as well. All right, so we will move on in a second. The games that we have added, Jim has added Miami under 154.5, Penn State first half minus 4, and the full game minus 8. Florida State first half minus 1.5, minus 120, and I've added the Colgate game under 156.5, and Mercer minus 13.5, minus 110.
Wow, Bruno Fernando is not starting for Maryland tonight. That's what Russ Spicewangers just said. If he's not playing, I mean, that line should change drastically. Yeah. That's wild. I can't believe. How can they? Michigan's going to win that game. I mean, is that Russ? Can you give? Is that a guarantee? Is that a fact that we know he's not starting? Because if he's not starting, I'll jump on Michigan and send it in right now.
All right. Well, you got it. You got about 2 minutes left, Jim, to send that game in.
Oh shit! It's in 2 minutes.
It's in 2 minutes. There is a 7.5 at the Greek right now, which we can give you that one, Jimmy the Bag, if you want it.
You know what? I'm going to take the first half.
You want the first half? Michigan, first half. This is a late official play from Jimmy the Bag. I'm scanning the best lines here. I'm going to refresh right here. Minus 4.5 plus 100. Minus 4.5 plus 100. You sure that's what you want, Jim?
Yeah.
All right, Jim's going to take Michigan. First half. Minus 4.5 plus 100. That's the current line at Pinnacle. So some late money is coming in on Maryland on the first half. I don't know, man. This one makes me nervous. Maryland might get it together here a little bit. Michigan's coming off the big win against Michigan State. I mean, that's huge. You know what I'm saying, Jim?
It's just Fernando. If they don't have a 6'11", they're just in trouble. They're just in trouble. I don't see how they can handle things. Maybe he comes in off the bench. Provides a spark. Maybe he's really sick. Who knows? But if he's not starting, something's wrong. All
right. So again, let's move on. The Duke-Miami game. I gave the under. Jim took the under. Florida State, Boston College. I'm passing. Jim likes Florida State first half. The Mercer game. I took minus 13.5. Bucknell, Colgate. I took the under 156.5. Minnesota, Penn State. I took the under on that one. And Jim likes Penn State first half and full game doubling up. And then the VMI Western Carolina game. I have no opinion on that one, although a pretty significant market move in favor of VMI, which is interesting. I'm passing on that one. Did you get to look at that one, Jimmy the Bag?
Sorry, I'm just sending it in. I'm getting 4.5 minus 105 of my local. I'm just sending it in.
Okay. So Jim once again lying on camera. He doesn't have a local. He's not sending the play in. He's not getting 4.5 None of this is true, right, Hater? What was it? Here for the fade? No? Is any of what you just said true?
It's all true, man.
It's all true.
Why would I be using these shitty Bet365 lines unless I had to use them all the time, man?
All right. Well,
I don't understand, but whatever.
Now we're at a little bit of an impasse. The here for the fade guy says everything Jim said is a lie. Jim says everything he says is true. Now we're at an impasse. I guess we're gonna have to do the old. Well, it's somewhere in the middle, which is bullshit. I hate when people say that because then it incentivizes people to lie because if they tell the truth, they know they're gonna get blamed for half a lie anyway. So.
But I'm getting called out as a liar from the biggest fraud in our industry, so we don't need to worry about it.
Well, the second biggest fraud in our industry thinks you're a swell guy, and that's me, Jimmy the Bag. That's me. So you can take that as a consolation prize,
Thank
Jimmy
you,
the
I
Bag.
do.
All right, so let's move on. We're joking around here because we don't have that much to break down, right?
Yeah.
Okay. 7:30 game, Cleveland State and Northern Kentucky, a massive underdog line here. Cleveland State, again, Northern Kentucky has had some games recently where I thought they might do a little bit better ATS-wise. Did you look at that one, Jimmy the Bag?
I did look at that one. I'm just sending this in quickly.
Okay,
give me 30 more seconds.
Jim's really selling this lie here. Really going for it. He's really buying into it. All right. So Cleveland State and Northern Kentucky line has moved down. It opened at 20. It's now down to about 17.5 or 18. So some money did come in on Cleveland State, which is understandable. A lot of these Horizon big underdogs recently, as we've seen, are just a little bit too big. Youngstown State's been cashing as an underdog. Cleveland State, of course, cashed in their last game against Oakland. By a little bit. They lost by 13. They were 15.5-point underdog, so I could see that being a similar situation here. Did you look at this game, Jimmy the Bag? Do you have anything to say about it?
I did take a good look at this game. I thought maybe there was a chance that I could jump on Cleveland State. Northern Kentucky's a tough squad, but 18 points is a huge amount. They're a small group, too. They're led on the boards by 6'7", junior, 250-pound Drew McDonald, who averaged 16.5 points, 8.5 boards. This guy's a big boy down low, though, because the Vikings have 6'9" freshman Stephen Kenich. He's got 2 inches on him. And then they have 6'8", 230-pound senior Jamarcus Hairston. But McDonald has more rebounds than both of those guys combined. Northern Kentucky is a tough place to play at home, and my lean was to take Cleveland State, but I just can't follow through with it and put my money on it, so I left that game alone.
Yeah, that game is definitely going to be a pass for me. I might look at something on the second half with that one, and let's see if Oh well, what do you know? Oh man. Providence did cash, but I had a big play on the second half over 76.5, and it landed on 76. So I broke even on that game, I think. Yeah, all right, that's not good.
That reminds me of Green Bay's last game, which I lost by the half point. I got them plus 5.5.
These half points, they matter in all sports, but they matter more in college basketball than anywhere else. Especially if you're betting half times on this stuff.
Oh, it's so bothersome. And you asked me to take a good look at the Green Bay game, and I was so confused by the line as well. And so confused that I haven't made a play on it yet, and I'd like to talk it through. Okay. I know we got Max watching, so we can break it down in a nice spot, but Milwaukee is 2 bigs that should control the boards and take advantage of Green Bay's lack of size. But Green Bay does have a couple bigs. If we go start with Milwaukee, they have 6'9", 225-pound senior Brett Prawl. He's the biggest man on the floor. He averaged 9.5 points, 5.6 boards. He combines nicely with their 6'7", 230-pound sophomore Bryce Nazeeh, who averages 9.3 points, 7.5 boards. And then Green Bay, obviously, they've got Khalil Smart and Sandy Cohen at the 1 and 2. I expected them to get us wins and find value, and that has not been the case over the last few games. Then they have the 6'8", 220-pound freshman Matty Patterson. He plays 20 minutes a game over the last 3. He was averaging just a little over 10 before that. They need him out there. He needs to play more. He had 8 rebounds. 5 were offensive against IUPUI. I don't know why he's not playing 25 or 30 minutes a game because Green Bay's tiny without him. They have 6'8", 220-pound David Jesperson. He barely plays. Who cares if he can't score? These guys need to be out there so that Cohen and Khalil Smart can miss baskets. They can outplay Milwaukee's Jeremiah Bell and Brock Stull, but they're so bad on the boards that I just can't take them. But this line doesn't make sense. It should be a pick 'em at worst, and Green Bay's a road dog.
Green Bay's a road favorite. Green Bay's a home dog. Yeah. All right. Listen, I'm not gonna overthink it. I mean, this one reminds me a little bit of the Providence game. It's like the line didn't make sense to me. So look, I bet it, and I will take it. Maxwell Smart, you said, also likes it.
I know. We both know he's been so angry with
Wisconsin,
Green Bay.
Yeah.
We got fucked. And Triple Beam saying we got fucked by Green Bay.
Yeah. Oh, we've gotten fucked by Green Bay recently in multiple games where it seemed like they would be a good play ATS wise, and they either shit the bed or lost it by a mile. At some point though, I think they have. I think we can look at their recent ATS results and say that there was something a little bit fluky about them, right? I mean, they're back home here now, right? They had a nice win over Oakland as a double-digit dog recently at home, right? They're back home. I'm taking them, Jimmy the Bag, and I'm going to take it. Let me see. I'm going to shop for the best line here. +3, -110 is the current line at Pinnacle. I'm going to take them +3. -110, current line at Pinnacle, and I'm thinking about doing the first half as well, just because, I don't know if they're going to come out strong or come out weak, but I could easily see it being a tie game at the half. What do you think, Jim? You like Wisconsin-Milwaukee though as a team in general right now against a team like Green Bay?
I still think though on the road the play has to be Green Bay. It has to be Green Bay. They've just screwed me. They've screwed me, and then the line is so confusing that I'm just so hesitant.
All right, well, I'm going to take it first half as well. I'm going to double up +1.5, and there are no twos available right now, but you wager as +1.5 -110, and I'll make that one an official pick. So I'm going with it. It's I've gotten burned taking Green Bay recently, just like the rest of us have, but I've also had success fading Milwaukee recently. So in the spot, I'm going to take it. And then let's move on to the next 8 o'clock game that also has us scratching our heads a little bit. Oakland against Illinois-Chicago. Once again, I'm thinking Illinois-Chicago might be a decent play, but here the line has gotten bet up and has not come back down. It's now up to 4.5 market wide. Did you look into this one, Jim?
I did, because they're starting to play well after a tough early start. They've won 3 straight, 5 straight at home. A couple of them are not against Div 1 schools. UIC has 3 guards averaging in double digits, 6'7" leading scorer. We have to be able to defend Kendrick Nunn. If you're going to take UIC, you have to figure out that they need somebody to defend him, and they have a guy. They have their leading scorer, 6'7". He's got length. I imagine that he will switch over to Kendrick Nunn all the time. Oakland has Jalen Hayes and Isaiah Brock doing a lot of damage on the boards for them. Combined, they average 15.6. That's where I get uncomfortable. UIC 6'9", 220-pound senior Ty Odiasi, along with 6'8" sophomore. They have a sophomore from Cork, Ireland, Jordan Blount. These guys they can't compare to Jalen Hayes and Isaiah Brock. And I mean, I guess if UIC or Green Bay can win outright and you just take them both on the money line, it will work. But I just don't have enough confidence in these two teams. I see the play on each of them, but had a tough time in college basketball in the last week and a half, and I'm just feeling like I'm going to leave them alone. But I get the play. I get the play on both UIC and Green Bay. Maxwell
Smart says Green Bay only wins if they hit 14 3-point shots.
Well,
and they have not been hitting from 3 recently, have they?
No, because we know last game I had them because the previous game they'd gone 1 for 18 from 3, and I was like, well, they're going to bounce back, and they didn't. I like UIC better than
you do, huh?
But I don't want to push you into it. But I like UIC as a team. They're playing better. They're playing more improved, whereas Green Bay seems to have taken a couple steps back.
They do. Yeah, I'm concerned. You're laughing at the Brady Martin comment. Here, Brady Martin has quoted me. This is Brady Martin's impression of my analysis of these games. Pete, I don't have a play here. No, I will take full game and first half and first quarter. Why not? And then he says, my hero. Thank you so much, Brady Martin. And then also here, Matthew Varnum says, guys, let's get even more SBR viewership. If you're on Twitter, tweet out all the shows. Tell your friends to watch SBR Forever. Thank you so much, Matthew Varnum. Appreciate the support. All right, yeah. Fizzy Lull says, no way UIC wins back-to-back. Very, very interesting stuff here. I'm going to be, let me think about what I want to do here. Now I'm in full Brady Martin quote mode here, thinking about what I want to do. I mean, I bet UIC. I bet it. I didn't bet it on the first half, but I did bet it. And let me look at some looking for some stats here. Oh, Native Queen says it got me too, Pete. 76.5. Native Queen was on the over in the Butler game as well. I did take Providence on the second half as well at Pick'em, but I bet the over was a 2x play, and then the money line was just a 1 unit play. So, all right, so let's get into it. Let's see. Maxwell Smart says UIC plays defense, and Oakland none can be cold shooting. Jim Four says you guys are all the friends I have. Yeah, I hear you, Jim.
Yeah.
This is all I got. This is all I mean, I'm thinking about shaving and trying to do something, trying to make something happen in the next couple of weeks, socially. But as of right now, for the past bunch of years, this is all I got. So I hear you on that one, Jim. I mean, it reminds me of, well, I won't get it. I won't say it. It's too much of a tangent. But Chris Rock had a very funny line about the Columbine guys. Do you remember that line?
I don't.
He was like, they were all depressed because they had no friends. He was like, well, I saw a picture of them. There's 7 of them standing there. He's like, that means each of them got 6 friends. I didn't have 6 friends in high school. And he goes, shit, I don't have 6 friends now. I hear you, Chris Rock. I hear you, baby. This show is all I got. Predictions guy says, shout out from London, England, by the way. Very nice, very nice. A wonderful, wonderful country there. King Rail says, I am totally against you with UIC, Pete. That's not good to hear.
Yeah, they're 2 teams that are hard to trust. I don't trust Ty Odiasi being able to hammer the boards. I went through his last 10 games, and even though he's 6'9" and 230 pounds, he doesn't play like it. I don't know what is, if he's afraid of the paint, or I think they're in trouble on the boards, and that's why Oakland has played well, because they got Kendrick Nunn running the show, and then they've got 2 guys who can get the boards, and it's a tricky play,
yeah.
And I'm almost, because of where I stand right now in NCAA, I'm thankful that I'm not on Green Bay and UNC.
All right, I'm gonna take it just on the full game, not on the first half. I'm gonna take Illinois Chicago. It might be a loser, but I bet it, and I will give it on the full game plus 4.5, minus 108. That is a line at Pinnacle right now. King Rail is against me on that one, and I saw someone else saying that they really liked Oakland as well. But I'm gonna take Illinois Chicago. Hopefully they'll be able to keep it close one way or the other. All right. Oh, and the other play that I liked was the over in the Milwaukee and Green Bay game. I bet that one at 140. It's now up to 141. I could still take it the Greek. What's your take on the total on that one, Jim?
Man, I just don't have enough confidence in where I stand with the totals. But it all comes down to whether Green Bay can hit their outside shots.
It's their outside shots. Yes, absolutely. All right, I'm going to take a shot with it, not on the first half, but I will take it on the full game. Over 141 minus 110 at the Greek. That is an official play. Over 141. I don't really want to double up on it. Maybe the first half is probably maybe a little bit better if they shoot lights out in the first half and then S the bed in the second half offensively. But I'm just going to take it one way. The full game over 141 minus 110, and that's it. Shall we move on?
Absolutely. Not from college basketball.
No, but to the 9 o'clock games.
Yes, definitely.
All right, so now let's move on to the 9 o'clock games. Once again, I gave in the morning show Illinois at +5. That's now down to 4.5 market wide, so I beat that line move. Oklahoma State, I bet them at 6. I had to give them at 5 in the morning show, and it's mostly 4.5s now, although the Greek is still hanging at 5. Kansas, West Virginia is a total pass for me right now, although West Virginia is looking very, very dangerous. And DePaul Marquette is an interesting game. I was thinking maybe a shot with the under. Marquette has had some liabilities defensively recently. I think they might take this game to try to assert themselves defensively. And DePaul has had some very high-scoring games on the road recently, but I'm thinking that this one might be a decent play on the under. I only bet that one a half unit, though. Not sure I want to give that out as a full as an official play. 4 9 o'clock games, Jim. You want to give any picks on these?
Yes, I am going to take West Virginia. I think they're going to have a big bounce back after their 72-71 loss on Saturday. The return of Eason Ahmed is a big deal following a 16-game suspension. Both teams are getting players added to their roster, and I was pretty surprised that D'Souza, coming in for Kansas, only played 4 minutes. I guess I had a different read on his role on the team, and maybe it grows. Kansas has lost 4 straight games at West Virginia. Senior point guard Javon Carter put up 28 points in that loss. He's averaging 3.59 steals a game. He's a great distributor, averaging 6.5 assists a game. Now, Kansas has a great distributor as well. Devontae Graham averages 18.4 points, 7.4 assists. Everybody was excited to see Kansas get this other big. I thought he was going to... We know that Uzubuike and 4 smalls is not going to do the job for Kansas. They will keep getting a lower or a higher and a higher ranking, a higher and higher seed if that continues. So we thought, man, D'Souza is going to help him, and he seems to not do much. West Virginia has a few a few 6'8" bigs to throw at Kansas. Kansas will be forced to go to D'Souza. They can't play if it's just a Buike against 2 or 3 6'8" bigs that West Virginia can throw at them. They're in trouble. I think this is a big bounce back spot for West Virginia. I think they're going to take care of business.
Okay, thank you very much. Just some funny comments as I was scanning for comments.
Sure.
Aspiratolate says, Pete, shaving isn't like taking the SATs. Just do it for fuck's sakes. All right, nice one. Aspiratolate. Yes, I am going to just do it for fuck's sakes. Very, very soon. Very, very soon. Some interesting comments here. Dexter Rojas says Kansas will be close. Dexter Rojas likes Kansas. Brady Martin says fascinating how much YouTube process. I will keep saying it. Thanks so much. Fuzzy Lull says too high, Pete. He's referring to my play on the over in the Wisconsin Green Bay Wisconsin Milwaukee game, and you might be right about that. I'm just taking going on it one way. And then Nate Pereira says, but remember, Peter, after you shit the bed, you can clean it up. Yes, that's a more or less, not verbatim of my classic quote that I made up last week, but it basically captures the basic gist of what I was trying to say. Yes, thank you very much for the reminder, Nate Pereira. Sometimes I have to be reminded of my own messages and my own sayings that I come up with. All right, Jim's going to take West Virginia -5.5, -105. That's the best line right now. It is headed down a little bit. I don't know. It's as much as I love West Virginia this year, and Kansas has some questions. It just feels like this is going to be one of those games that goes down to the wire. Jim, you know what I'm saying?
It's possible. And JP Faces, Azubuike will embarrass West Virginia's bigs. I just think they have a lot of them. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of guys that can go, and we can hack them. We can do different things. I think it's a bounce-back spot. I think it's a spot where West Virginia says, no, we're not the 6th-ranked team. We're one of the top 2 ranked teams in the country. Mm-hmm. And I like it. I can understand not everybody being on it, but I like it.
Eric Swiatek says, I bet Kansas +5 last night while I was drunk and taking a shit. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much. You like how I delivered that line?
I did.
Wow, great. Thank you for writing that great line, Eric Swiatek, which then I performed very admirably. Nailed the line. But Eric Swiatek was the writer. Always give the writers first credit.
Respect.
All right. Yes, absolutely. All right. Dave Wolf says, everyone on Kansas saying too many points. Exactly. Take West Virginia. Yeah, I'm passing on this game. I'm probably going to have a play on it one way or the other on the second half. But I'm passing on it as of right now. Okay, this is we're getting some funny comments. All right, this is comments coming all over the place. A Native Queen likes Bucknell first half under. Yes, I'm on the full game under. I gave that one as an official pick. Native Queen. Maybe I should have given the first half as well, or instead of. Hopefully it's not one of those games that goes under in the first half and then we see 100 points the second half, which is always possible. But I'm just going to give it one way, but I'm definitely agreeing with you, Native Queen. I'm liking the under, and I bet it at 158. Gave it at 156.5. All right, and then Oklahoma State. I'm liking Oklahoma State to have a nice game against Baylor. What do you think about that, Jim? I know you looked into it.
I didn't get a chance to hammer this game long enough. No, I didn't. Unfortunately, just not enough fucking time, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I wish I could give you more. I mean, I like Baylor's team. Mm-hmm. I think they can give you a whole bunch of different looks, but it's a tough spot, and I wish I had more time. All
right, I'm thinking about going doubling up on it. I definitely took Oklahoma State on the full game +5. Again, bet it at +6. And first half, there's no 3s available, but there are 2.5s. I could get 2.5 -110 at UWager, and I will take it. I'll throw on Oklahoma State. I just like the spot for them here. First half +2.5 -110. I'll take Oklahoma State first half. I'm doubling up on that one as well. Illinois, Nebraska. You have anything to say about that one, Jim?
I like Nebraska. I like them moving forward. I believe in this team, but it's a tricky spot and a tricky line, and I didn't feel like I could find the right angle on it, so I've left this game alone at this point.
Okay.
Let's see the line movement here.
Again, the DePaul-Marquette game is interesting. Obviously, both of these teams can be very, very high scoring, but it was a high total that's gotten bet down a little bit, and I was definitely leaning to the under on this one. I did bet it a half unit, not a full unit. Not quite sure if I want to give that one as an official pick. I do feel like it's a spot where Marquette is going to try to assert some sort of a defensive presence here. Do it against a team like DePaul. Although DePaul's an interesting team. They're a great offensive rebounding team, Jimmy the Bag, and that to me is a team that might overachieve and outperform their spreads. They've covered 3 out of their 4 road games and they beat St. John's outright as a 7.5-point dog in their last road game. Pretty impressive. And the game before that lost by only 5 to Xavier as a 14-point road dog. So this is a team that can hang on the road, Jimmy the Bag.
Yeah, man, I found these later games tricky. I don't know. I found the angles I could find on the early games I really trusted, and then when I was trying to make plays on the late games, I just couldn't find them.
Okay, sure, fair enough. But interesting to think about taking DePaul here, despite the fact that Marquette's obviously coming off the big loss to Butler and probably looking to have some sort of to save face in some way, right?
I like Marquette, but the line was just too big, and yes, they're upset. I really thought that Henry Froling was going to play a bigger role, and I thought they were adding a big, which they really haven't.
All right, you know what? I'll take the under on that one. Not first half, just on the full game. I'll take the under 157, and that will be minus 110 at a few places, still hanging 157 minus 110. I'll throw the under on that one, even though, of course, DePaul can be very high scoring. I'm sure there's going to be people in the chat box saying, no, Loshak, don't do that. Marquette's going to roll. Marquette's going to push it all, push the pace and this and this. Oh, shit. Dirk Diggler says, I'm going to kill myself if Loshak's picks don't hit tonight. Dude, you don't want to be doing that. You don't want to be killing yourself because someone's, these picks are all, we're feeling our way through the dark here. You know what I mean? Just like you guys are. And yeah, maybe I'm 54% lifetime in college basketball, which is very admirable, but that still means there's going to be major down days, major down weeks. You know what I'm saying? Bet sizing, vitally important. The picks that I'm liking the most in today's card, I guess, would be the totals that I tweeted out, and also the Mercer game seems pretty solid, but all these others could easily lose. The Marquette under could easily lose. The Wisconsin, Green Bay, Illinois, Chicago games could easily lose, of course. Oklahoma State on the first half, that could easily lose. I mean, I'm just hoping to have a few more winners and losers on today's card, and we'll see how it all turns out. All right, so shall we move on, Jimmy the Bag?
Yeah, absolutely. The one move I would lean to adding, which I'm not going to, would be the Mercer at home. I think that's a good spot. I see why you guys are on it, but I'm going to leave everything the way it is.
Jim Forrest says, take Baylor at home over Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State has played too many high-pressure games. Big letdown tonight. Good point there, Jim Fiore. Although the line has moved in my favor. Dan Kelly, Pete, give us a money management story. We don't quite have time for that, but I will. Let me see. Let me just Jim Forey says, take Baylor first half and the game. Jim Fore likes Baylor over Oklahoma State. I'm just thinking that Oklahoma State might have turned a little bit of a corner after the coach chewed him out, and that they have the talent to hang close. JP Faye says Oklahoma State will keep this game close from the free throw line, ranked 8th nationally in free throw percentage. Yes, I do love teams that are good from the free throw line as this level of a dog in the 5 to 7 or 8 point underdog range, because if the game is in that range late, their free throw shooting might be able to mean the difference between a cover and a loss. You know what I mean? So we'll see. But Jim Fore seems like he really knows what he's talking about. Has a strong opinion for a strong reason for liking Baylor there. And Damon Bellard says, what are the low-hanging fruit? Mercer? Yeah, maybe. It might be. I mean, again, I don't know if I'm seeing any low-hanging fruit. I don't know if there's ever low-hanging fruit in college basketball. Sometimes there are, like when there's a home underdog that clearly shouldn't be. But no, tonight I'm not seeing any low-hanging fruit. Let's see.
I like Penn State. I just think Minnesota is so atrocious on the boards. God, it's too bad. I mean, they weren't even that good really with Lynch and Coffey, but they're in deep trouble now, and they're getting discouraged when they get down by 10 or 15. I think Penn State's a nice play.
All right, I'm very quickly going to look at the second half lines, which are up now for the Memphis and Lakers game. Let me just quickly scan that. Let me check what the lines are here. Memphis and Lakers second half. So Memphis plus 1.5, and the total is 100.5. Yeah, that's going to be that's a pass for me. Very, very slight lean to Memphis plus 1.5 at that line, but that's going to be a pass. I'm not going to touch it. Let me just quickly slight lean to Memphis plus 1.5. Lakers could easily come back though. Let me just check some things here. Yeah, very slight lean to Memphis plus 1.5. That's a pass for me. All right, Jim. Let's quickly move on. Let's quickly look at the NHL game. There's just one game. You gave a pick on the over on that one. Jimmy the Bag. How you feel about that, Jim?
Sorry, with are we
The NHL game. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was the Boston play was disappointing to start the day out. So I'm what's the movement gone anyways on this?
The Islanders Montreal game, no real movement. Slight move to the under actually. In the morning you got -110. Now Pinnacle and a few other places have -105, but most other places have 110. So slight move to the under from the morning, but nothing more significant than that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna add. There's nothing really to add. I guess I do think that there's a chance. I think that without two key defenders, that the Islanders will be in trouble moving forward. But they've been playing very well lately. I find like the over is the smoothest, easiest spot to be in. And then on the NBA card, I really like this under. It's gone down now. The Golden State Cleveland under. They just put it way too high, and I understand people hammering it, but it's just way too high. And then I think Houston's going to play big with Chris Paul coming back. I think they're really going to fight for him to get the win there. And those are. Oh, and I've got the under Sacramento, Oklahoma State. I think this is a spot where Sacramento can get completely shut down, and that's what I'm hoping for in this game. So I feel pretty good. Memphis is up 10 at halftime. I think that it's a bad start for me. I'm 1-3 so far in NBA. It's a bad start, but I think everything will take care of itself.
Yeah, you got what did you take? You took the under in the Cleveland Golden State game at 234.5, which is right where it is right now. You took the under in the OKC game, didn't you? Officially,
yes, I did. Yeah,
that was 209. It's now down to 208 or 207.5. So nice little 1 or 1.5 point line move that you beat there. You also took Houston. What did you take them on the full game?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, full game. You got him at -4, and that is now a nice little half point line move in your favor. It's now up to a 4.5 market wide. And Indiana, Utah. You have anything to say about that one, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, when I looked at this game, I tried to find an angle that I could use and work with. I can understand people liking different spots in this game. Let me just get to my notes. They're right here. Jazz have lost 14 of 18, and now Cephalosha's done for the season after suffering an MCL injury. Things just keep getting worse and worse for this team. Gobert's missed 13 straight with a knee injury. Nato's missed 15 straight with a knee injury. Both of them are back at practice. Indiana's won 4 of 5 since Oladipo got back. They lost all 4 games he was hurt for. He's averaging 20 points a game, hitting 50% from the field since he's back. Miles Turner will not be in the lineup tonight. I think that the Jazz are in trouble, but they play well at home. I couldn't see really enough value in this game to take either side. Do you like any side on this?
On which one?
On the Jazz?
No,
Pacers?
that's going to be a pass for me. Some interesting questions. Eric Sniffen says, Loshak, why are you putting in bets that you yourself say is easy to lose? Well, because, if you have a bet that you think is 53.5% or 54%, something like that, even just 53%, then it's worth betting. But, of course, those bets can very easily lose, right? It can easily be a fluky loss. It could easily come out in one team, especially in basketball, shoots lights out from 3 or can't hit hit anything from 3, and then depending on how you bet it, your bet is totally scotched or already in the bank. So that's the answer, Eric Sniffen. Why are you putting in bets that you yourself say is easy to lose? And the answer is that most bets, because the market is sharp, most bets. You could make a strong argument for staying off it. There are very few bets that have very clear big value. They do exist though, but not. But it's not the norm. And on most cards, you're lucky if you can find 1 or 2 that are like that. Most bets you're putting in, you could easily make an argument for the other side, and you're trusting your handicapping to put you on a 53 or 54% play, and that's it. That's your answer, Eric Sniffen. How was that for an answer? Let's see. My D Quad 211 says Bucknell is low hanging fruit tonight. Okay, that is they are a modest road favorite over Cornell. Let's see. Other comments. Just quickly looking for other comments, and I guess that's about it. A lot of people debating Kansas and West Virginia. Kansas plays hard. Not sure about covering the 6, but West Virginia just better. Definitely, I understand that. Let's see. Other comments, final comments before we wrap this up. Hako Schofield says Rockets low-hanging fruit. A lot of people were suggesting the Rockets were low-hanging fruit this morning. Hako Schofield says, fuck Michigan losing bad.
Yeah,
gosh.
what a
I
mistake.
knew it. I knew fucking Maryland. It was a bounce back spot for them. They were looking like, let's see what the score is. Is it a relatively brisk pace? No, it's about average, about on pace to push the first half on the.
Paulo Marquez has a question. He's got a 3-game parlay, good money, and he's already won with the Avalanche and Stars. Just Memphis puck line must mean Memphis spread, and they're up 10. So
he's asking, do I sell, bet, or trust Memphis? I would trust Memphis there. He's got him at 2.5, right?
I believe so.
Got him at -2.5. I would definitely trust Memphis there, Paulo Marquez. I would actually say that probably Memphis on the +1.5 second half line is probably a 52% play, something like that. So yeah, I would just let that one ride, Paulo Marquez. Although, just keep in mind for future reference, parlays are very dangerous because they're underdog bets. You're usually wildly over betting your edges, even if your parlay bet does have an edge. If you have 3 bets, all the bets that are positive EV, and you parlay them all together, your EV gets magnified. So your parlay bet is going to have an even bigger EV than all the 3 bets individually. But because it's a big underdog bet, you're probably way over betting it. And any parlay bet you make like that, unless you're betting it tiny, you're probably over betting it, which means that from an expected growth perspective, it's not a good thing to do. Just keep that in mind, Paulo Marquez. Right?
Yeah, important stuff.
That's the way parlays go. Parlays are fun. I understand why, but they're usually negative EG bets, even if they're positive EV. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, everyone, and especially Paulo Marquez. All right, so I guess that's about it. Let's see. If you found with evidence that they're allowed to tag review for whatever sports without evidence, you are clueless. I don't know what Jim Rummy is referring to. But okay, Jim Rummy made an interesting comment. All right, so here we go. Let's just review the picks that we've given in this afternoon show, and then we will wrap it up. West Virginia -5 is one of Jim's picks. Miami under 154.5. Penn State first half -4 and full game -8. Jim also took Michigan first half -4.5 and Florida State first half -1.5. And I added, in addition to the picks that I tweeted out, Wisconsin Green Bay first half +1.5, full game +3. The Marquette game under 157. The Colgate game under 156.5. Mercer -13.5, Wisconsin Green Bay game over 141, and Illinois Chicago +4.5 on the full game, and Oklahoma State first half +2.5. Thanks so much for all the great comments, even to the hater. Thank you for coming on and giving us some fodder for a little bit of levity, right?
Sure.
I like that. I like it. Haters come on and say things, because they either say things that are not true, or we can slam them, or they can say things that are true, in which case I get to make the joke of where I'm like, insulting myself along with them. Both of those, I think, make for great videos, Jimmy the Bag. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you, man.
So I love haters. When they come on, either they're saying things that are true or not true, I know how to handle both of them, and I think it makes for great videos no matter what. So
one last comment from Native Queen. She's putting a little something on Cavs first quarter and Cavs first half over. Very interesting.
Yes, Native Queen has had a good read on Cavs totals, especially in the beginning of the game, and the Cavs, obviously, for a full game, stay the hell away. But early on in the first halves, it seems like they can show up for a quarter or a half, and then when they're like, all right, yeah, we've proven ourselves to ourselves, then they're just throwing in the towel and they go on and lose, which is exactly what happened in the Indiana game. Very interesting. That's probably you should probably tail whatever Native Queen says about NBA and college basketball that you see her comment on in these shows. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow at 12 o'clock Eastern Time.
Welcome into Marketology, where we have Matthew Holt. Find him on Twitter at Matthew Holt VP. He is the VP at CG Technology. Matt, welcome in. How you doing today, buddy?
Great, Drew. I'll tell you, the NFL playoffs, which have been fairly predictable the last few years, continue to be interesting this season. And another big weekend for the book as the bettors took it on the chin this past weekend.
Yeah, only one favorite covering, so you had a bunch of money come your way. I mean, what ended up happening with the books, with the Minnesota, all that? Anything you think the viewers need to know about off the top?
Look, it was a perfect storm for the sports books this weekend with, all that action on Atlanta, as Philadelphia getting absolutely no love from the bettors here without Carson Wentz. Atlanta, and despite the fact that, Atlanta loses the first game, the huge game for the book, but there was a lot of sharp teaser action actually to that game. We don't often see sharp teaser action or even associate teasers with sharp, but there was a lot of sharp teaser action with Philadelphia linked to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Philadelphia going all the way through 2 key numbers up to through 3 and 7 up to 8.5, and Pittsburgh coming down through 2 key numbers from 7.5 down to 1.5. And with Pittsburgh losing, it not only ended up being a monstrous game in terms of big money line bets on Pittsburgh, a lot of spread money on Pittsburgh, but it knocked out those sharp teasers from the Philadelphia game earlier. So the book basically swooped on Saturday, on the Saturday-Sunday combo on the 2 early games. Patriots wasn't great for the book, but we were able to sustain that because the spread was so high. Anytime you get a spread really over 10, it tends to keep the more public players away. They don't like laying those big numbers. So the Patriots game doesn't end up being a big loss. Sunday, the Pittsburgh Steelers lose early, knocks out all those sharp teasers that were attached to the Philadelphia Eagles. And then in the afternoon, we took a huge amount, 6 figures worth of money line action on the New Orleans Saints, but all the spreads bettors were on the Minnesota Vikings. So the book had this great reverse middle where if Minnesota was able to win but not cover the spread, it was going to be a huge day for the books. Vikings get that late touchdown, kneel down instead of kicking the extra point to make sure a game lands on 5, where most of the bets were 5, 5.5, or 6. And the book ends up having a monster weekend.
Yeah, crazy ending there. Bad for the bettors, good for the sports books. Matt, staying in the NFL, you sent me over some of the look-ahead lines that you guys are putting out. Looks like we got New England -3 over Minnesota. So some Super Bowl lines, actually. New England -7 over Philly, Minnesota -4.5 versus Jacksonville. And what about Philly -1 versus Jacksonville? Are you actually taking bets on I guess, both underdogs making it to the Super Bowl? Have you taken any bets on that one?
So we put all 4 possible scenarios up: Patriots versus Vikings, Patriots versus Eagles, Jacksonville versus the Vikings, Jacksonville versus the Eagles. And we opened Patriots -3 over Minnesota with a total of 47.5. Patriots -7 over Philadelphia with a total of 43. Minnesota 4.5 point favorites over Jacksonville, total of 40. And Philly -1 over Jacksonville, total of 38. That Philly number is actually already switched to Jacksonville -1. I think the public perception is there, and we took a couple of sharp bets on Jacksonville. Was if Jacksonville beats the New England Patriots, they'll have beaten Pittsburgh and New England on the road in back-to-back weeks and have garnered enough public support by then that they probably would be favorites over Philadelphia, or at least to pick them. So we have taken a little bit of action there. And we actually took a couple of bets at Minnesota -4.5. We may be headed to 6 in that one.
Yeah, no, that's a good point with the Jacksonville one. So if they do beat New England, has that line shifted to now Jacksonville a favorite?
Yeah, Jacksonville -1 now.
Okay, that's in the futures for the Super Bowl odds there. Hey, Matt, moving on to college basketball. Kind of an interesting Monday night card. We got Kansas 7-point underdog in Big 12 play. Also Duke going on the road, laying points in Miami. Are you taking anything on those 2 games or anything on the college basketball hoops front?
Interestingly enough, overnight, we were taking a pretty steady amount of action on West Virginia, and it drove that line at one point all the way up to West Virginia -7. It's back down to 6 now, as we've seen a lot of sharp action at that +7 and +6.5 on Kansas. But as soon as it hit 7, we were talking in the office, when's the last time we've seen the Kansas Jayhawks a 7-point underdog in Big 12 conference play? None of us could even remember a scenario, at least under Bill Self, where we saw Kansas a 7-point underdog in conference play in the Big 12. So interesting that the line got that high. Is Kansas, the record's still good this year, despite the fact that they haven't been able to get Billy Preston back. They're still 14-3, and all of a sudden they're the forgotten team in the Big 12. West Virginia, I know they're in a revenge spot coming off a loss here, but interesting game where we had actually big waves of sharp action on both sides of this. Initially on West Virginia, and then in the last hour, 90 minutes or so, on Kansas at +7, +6.5. Driving this line back down to West Virginia -6. The Duke game also interesting here. Open 3, Got as high as Duke 4.5, and this is turning into a big-time pros versus Joes game as we're taking a lot of public action on Duke here, and probably for good reason, the way that they score the basketball. But there's a lot of sharp action here on the Miami Hurricanes. Jim Larinaga does a great job of getting his team prepared. They hit the glass hard. They play good defense. Duke hasn't been too good in the defensive side of the ball this year, so not surprisingly, we're seeing this is also kind of turning into a pros versus Joes big-time scenario. Public all over Duke, sharps all over the Hurricanes.
And Matt, moving to the association, what's the DeAndre Jordan impact on the betting line? And also in the NBA, what about Cavs Warriors tonight? What kind of action are you seeing on these games?
You know, the Houston action's been interesting since James Harden went out. I think you could put this team actually on pace with the Golden State Warriors for the first 2 months of the season in terms of betting handle. People really gravitated to this Houston Rockets team with Chris Paul and James Harden. Since Harden went out, we've seen a lot of anti-Houston action, despite the fact that they're still playing okay basketball. You know, we talk about max players all the time and what they're actually worth to a betting line. DeAndre Jordan tonight, interesting. This line opened 4, going up to 4.5. And I heard, I've heard a lot of smart people say, despite all of the disadvantages of having him in at the end of the game, and he can't make free throws and he can't really shoot. And in today's space and, kind of pace and space era of basketball, that DeAndre Jordan isn't really your prototypical max player that you would pay the money. But we're actually seeing some action on Houston tonight, and I had an opportunity to speak to one of the sharper players who bet Houston tonight, and they were convinced DeAndre Jordan is still one of the 10 most valuable players in the National Basketball Association. So interesting there is, what is DeAndre Jordan really worth to the betting line? If he doesn't end up play tonight, we might be able to get a good indicator.
And Matt, also on Saturday night, we got arguably the biggest UFC card with Conor McGregor not in it. We got 2 title fights, heavyweight and light heavyweight. What are you guys seeing as far as betting action in the UFC? And also, what are your picks? I know you give a lot of them out on Twitter, at Matthew Holt VP. It's a good follow for the UFC. But what do you have to say about the card Saturday night?
Yeah, coming off a good card yesterday, actually, where I had 3 underdog winners that we gave away. Stephan Bonner, UFC Hall of Famer, he insists I say it. Stephan Bonner and myself host a podcast on Thursdays called The Final Round. We had 3 underdog winners yesterday on the card. Look, this is probably, at least of cards that we have announced or fights that we can see on the horizon for 2018, this is probably the biggest fight in the UFC in 2018. UFC Heavyweight Championship of the World, Stipe Miocic, the champion, actually the underdog in this fight against challenger Francis Ngannou. And what we've seen, what's interesting, is the UFC officials have this machine that they use to measure punching power. And they've measured a bunch of fighters, boxers, UFC fighters, MMA fighters, kickboxers, punching power against this machine. And while we can't go back in history and grab Mike Tyson or, some of these early fighters' punching power, of all the fighters that have ever been measured, the challenger in this fight, Francis Ngannou, is the hardest puncher recorded in the history of the world. And he's getting a lot of love for bettors. This one opened around $1.55 favorite for the challenger. It's hit as high as -210. We did take a 4-figure bet on Miocic today, dropping that line back down to -190. But a lot of love for the challenger here, and for good reason. If you just go back and watch his last fight, the uppercut that he hit #1 contender Alistair Overeem with was unbelievable. This is one of those can't-miss moments where you have 2 guys with such devastating knockout power that hit it so hard. I think this one's going to do big handle. We're already doing big handle. We've had the fight up for a few weeks, and I don't think a day has gone by the last 2 weeks with all the distractions of the College National Championship, NFL playoffs, where we haven't taken at least one 4-figure bet on this fight. So I expect this to do big handle UFC pay-per-view, UFC 220 this weekend.
Good stuff, Matt. Anything else you want to throw out to the watchers, listeners before we close this down?
No, check out The Final Round. I'll give out all my UFC picks for the week. We tend to do really well. Stephan Bonner and I have a contest every week for that. So a little competition there. So hopefully my picks stay hot again this week. Look, it's going to be an unbelievable week, too. The AFC Championship, the NFC Championship, a huge UFC pay-per-view, great college basketball matchups. I mean, this is kind of a sports bettor's dream week this week. Best of luck to everybody. Take care.
He's Matt Holt. I'm Drew Martin. We'll be back next Monday with another Marketology episode from the other side of the counter. Thanks for tuning in.